So today we're going to talk about schooling fish. As we are out on the water, some days it is just flat calm, and you can see these dark patches of bait at the surface. They look almost, it looks like it's raining in a surface or in an area of the ocean. And when we get closer, when you look in the water, you can actually see the fish some days. We'll get sand eels, we get herring, we get mackerel. This particular day, we had all this herring at the surface. We had a fin whale feeding, and it was amazing because the fish, you'd hear them all bubbling at the surface, and then all of a sudden they'd go silent. And I think that was when the whale was lunging under the water. Then a couple seconds later, it would surface away from the patch of bait. It'd take a few breaths, and then it would circle back around, and the fish would all be bubbling at the surface again, and all of a sudden it would go silent. The whale lunged again. We watched it do it 4 or 5 times. It was so amazing. Here's a video where you can see the fish in the water. So when you see the bait balls, you'll see these dark patches. They kind of look like shadows. It's always amazing to watch the whales when they're feeding. The fish try to escape. They try to jump out of their mouths, of course. Sometimes the lucky ones do get to escape. Sometimes they get stuck in the baleen. We can see that too. On the fish finder, it's neat because when we go over these patches of bait, sometimes it's 50, 60 feet thick of fish underneath the boat, and we're only in 100 feet of water. It's amazing. And this one too, you can see an animal moving through that darker red patch is an animal moving through that patch of less dense bait. Years ago, we would go out and we would just see these huge, like acres of sand eels at the surface. And the whales wouldn't be feeding in it. And I always thought it was so weird. And then I remember at a conference, they talked about how they had put D tags on the back of the whales and then also measured the prey. And what they found was that the whales preferred when the fish were vertically stacked in the water column as opposed to horizontally all stretched out. If the whale's blowing bubbles underneath fish that are vertically stacked, it's probably going to maximize the amount of fish that they get with each bite. It's amazing to see these schooling fish, and they're such an important thing. They're not as exciting maybe as the whales, but they're such an important part of the ecosystem out here because the fish are really what's driving where these animals are. So stay tuned to find out what these fish are feeding on.